You're implementing two of the most powerful strategies you can get when it comes to phone calls, and that is research and feedback. So you're doing research. Instead of calling them to talk about how great you are, you're calling them to help sell the home, or at least, that's the initial conversation.
Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Welcome, everyone, to another amazing episode of Referrals Podcast. And I am so excited about today's topic. First of all, you've heard of 75 Hard, which is basically like do 10 push-ups a day for 75 days, or take a habit and just do it for 75 days. On this, we have also profiled people who have done 90 one-to-ones in 90 days. We've had somebody who has done 90 listings in 90 days. We have had all of these different people who, if you want to change your life, you've got to change something that you do daily. And this gentleman today is going to rock and blow all of those other stories away. I can't wait for you to hear this story, and I am going to make you wait, though. I have to give a shout out. I've got to give a shout out to Elizabeth Walloweek. Elizabeth was a person that was in our event mastery class who had never really done an event and had never done an event with the event mastery approach that we teach. And she had her first 7L event mastery structured event yesterday, and she invited 150. Remember, the power is in the invitation. She had 50 show, which is an incredible turnout. She received 9 referrals plus 8 me's. And me's are people who raised their hand at the event and said, I am interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate. So 17 incoming pieces of business. And she also says here, we will be giving out 15 outgoing referrals to our sponsor partners. And we also gave a lot of great donations to a local food bank, which filled the entire back of an SUV. So, Elizabeth, I would say that is a major success. What a great way to start your 2024, and kudos on your implementation. Honestly, it sounds like maybe a future Referrals Podcast episode, if you're asking me. If you're interested in doing events like hers, where they're going to get you 9 to 17 pieces of business, can't guarantee that, but implement, who knows, you might even get more than that. But Event Mastery class starts on February 6th, starts just next month. And don't miss all of our new classes and all of our new format for 2024. Referral Mastery Academy is fully revamped. We'd love to invite you to check it out. You can check it out at referralmasteryacademy.com, or you can check out just the Event Mastery class at eventmastery.com. And one other thing that I've got to tell you about is we have a realtor focus and an agent track this year in Referral Mastery Academy. We're really doubling down on the real estate agents in our tribe. And guess what? We have Buyer Agent Mastery that is coming up. You can check that out at buyeragentmastery.com. And I encourage you to check that out. And guess what? Peyson's information is going to be a part of that. I can't wait for you guys to get involved and check it out. You can check all of this out. One more URL just for the people who are keeping track at home. Join gengen.com. Join our Generosity Generation group. And I know many of you are already in there, but it's the largest referral network that I know of. And it's a tribe of trust. So everybody trusts each other. It's a great place for referrals. A referral just happened today in joingengen.com. Now, all right, this is exciting. This is good stuff. So you'll never catch real estate agent Peyson Robertson with his back against the wall in his personal or professional life. Rising from humble beginnings, he continues pushing himself to the limit with a relentless work ethic and competitive spirit in everything he does. Short-term rental, single-family homes, and luxury real estate are a few of Peyson's specialties at the Obsidian Group, located in Coachella Valley near Palm Springs in California. When Peyson isn't busy helping clients navigate the home buying and selling process, he can be found practicing jujitsu, going to the gym, playing golf, reading books, traveling, or watching movies. Without further ado, let's welcome to the Referrals Podcast, Peyson Robertson. Welcome, buddy.
Thank you. Excited to be on. I've been listening to this since I got into the industry at about 18 years old. So this is a cool moment.
Well, how old are you now?
22. I turned 23 on Sunday.
Oh, here we go. Happy birthday. First of all, that's fantastic.
Thank you.
And great to have you and great to have you on. And I did not know that you were an avid listener and downloader of the podcast. And I love that. And I appreciate it. And, so here's what, like, I didn't tell him what you did. Like, what did you do? What was your goal and what did you do?
It was 100 open houses in 100 days.
Yeah.
And reason being, my business struggled a lot at the beginning of the last year, and I basically gave myself last year to figure out, okay, do you stay in real estate or do you get out and do something else? I'm sure like a lot of people were probably thinking and are still thinking. So that was like, okay, I needed a way to consistently prospect, and what do I like to do? What do I enjoy to do? And open houses was it.
So 100 open houses in 100 days. So when I first heard your story, I heard it, we hear things how we want to hear it. I heard it was you were setting goals and you wanted to do 100 open houses in a year, right? And so I was thinking about, all right, 100 open houses in a year. There's 52 weeks in a year. Let's take out, Christmas and July 4th. And all right, so that's 50 weeks. So that's Saturday and Sunday. And that's still a lot. That's more than a lot of people I know. And so that's Saturday and Sunday every week for a year. And you've got 100 open houses. It's like, okay, but man, that's still really impressive. And then you sent me the dates and the addresses of your open houses. And it wasn't 100 in a year. It wasn't 100 in 365 days. It was 100 open houses in 100 days. Wow. Right. So at that point, I was like, holy cow. Like, that's a lot of logistics. That's a lot of management. That's aggressive. I really like this guy and I haven't even met him yet. All right. So here's the thing. How many different houses did you hold open in 100 days?
I think it was only 6 or 7.
Okay. So you were doing the same houses over and over again. Okay. So that helps, right? And all of a sudden the light bulbs are going on to our listeners. They're like, okay, I think I can do that. I can hold the same because, you know how to get there. You could leave the signs up if you're going to be there every day. So there's some logistical kind of nice things about, repeating the same homes. Okay. And so did you notice that time influenced like how many people came through? Was there a better time and date for open houses? Did you discover anything there? I'm going to ask you like a million questions. I hope you're ready for this because I'm super curious and super interested. Like I'm a research guy, right? You're like a case study. You're a Harvard case study. Let's dive deep into this. So
time wise, so we're a big secondary home market. Yep. So for secondary homes, we realized during the week, 11 to 1 is best for us secondary homes. 3 to 5 or 4 to 6 is best on the family homes that we focus on. So we're either trying to catch people after work or we're catching people after golf and pickleball. Is kind of like go. So it's either one or the other. So like we know going into the house, okay, this is going to be probably a family home. So this is a house that will sit 3 to 5 or 4 to 6, or hey, this is on a golf course. We should probably be here from 11 to 1.
Yeah, or all day. Right? I mean, like camp out all day, and as the golfers go by, we're slipping them invitations to the open house, right? So, okay, I love that. All right. What was there a better day of the week? I mean, like I said, I'm going to hit you with these little was there a better day?
I've been asked that a lot lately. There's not a better day. There's not. Okay. Like in the beginning, I was like, oh wow, like it seems like Thursday is like a really good day, and then next week Thursday I'd get 0 people, and then all of a sudden Tuesday would be like, oh, Tuesday's a really good day, and then you'd get next week, or the week after you wouldn't get. It's just all I've learned about it is if you sit every single day, you have at least, if you have one person walk in, you have one opportunity to meet a new buyer or seller. And that's all that we've learned that matters. And there hasn't been any day, besides obviously the weekends tend to be busier because they're the weekends. But there's no weekday that tends to be better than another. It's completely up in the air. And it's just about showing up.
But the weekends overall were a little more trafficked in general, especially on the family homes, maybe?
Yeah, typically. I mean, sometimes we had weekdays. So I'll even tell you, we only usually have like 0 to 5 groups come through on weekdays. Like it's not like we have a ton of groups, but we've had we've had open houses where we've had 15, 20 groups through on a weekday. I wouldn't say that's common though. Like common 0 to 5. Like some days we'll go a few days sometimes without anyone there.
Yeah. So what did you do on the days where nobody showed up? I'm just
Always
curious.
have my laptop. We're cold calling. We're working on other social media. We're working on current transactions. We're setting up showings. There's not if pretty much we treat our open houses like an on-site sales office, like a new agent would. So we're doing stuff until someone walks in, knocks on the door, and then we get up. We'll stop whatever we're doing and we'll move on to them. But we need to be doing something. So if we're following up with leads, whatever we can be doing to be productive is what we're doing inside of there. So hotspot or Wi-Fi is what we need.
And the first thing that came to mind for me is all right, so my niche is open houses. I'm going to crush open houses. The days I have nobody, I'm following up with all the people I had before at previous open houses, writing them notes and sending them emails, sending them text, inviting them to the current one, hey, sure. It's opened again today, so come on by.
We found that works amazing for follow-up with these is we just call, no matter if it's our open house or no matter if it's our listing or someone else's. Hey, we're just calling for feedback to see what you liked and didn't like about the house. Like, be honest with us. Tell us what you hate about the house. And then we just use all that information. We're like, okay, well, we know of one down the street that matches what you're talking about. Can we send that over to you? Or would you like to go take a look at that today or tomorrow? That's worked wonders. Just asking, because people don't feel like you're trying to sell them on something. It's like, hey, we genuinely need feedback for this house. Like, what do you like about it? What do you hate about it? It's a great conversation starter.
Well, here's the deal. That's a win-win-win. That's a win for the seller. Whoever's selling the property wants feedback anyway. Mm-hmm. It's a win for the customer because they want to give their advice. And you're not asking them any, pushy salesperson questions and trying to push them into, hey, work with me, right? And people love to give their advice. Well, it's also a win for you for a couple of reasons. One, it lowers their barrier, lowers their block, right? To start, and they start talking. Once they start talking, then it's a conversation. And the other thing it does is one of the most powerful things that you can do to win over another person is to ask for their advice. And so when they give you advice, then they are buying into you two working together. And there's a bond that, especially if you take their advice and you go back to the seller and you say, hey, here's the feedback. And then you reply back to the original customer and say, hey, listen, I went over this with the seller and they're going to implement some of the things that you said. I just really wanted to appreciate your advice and say thank you. And that's a win. First of all, you're getting back to them, which 99% of agents won't. But I love just give us some feedback that everybody stop your treadmill, stop your stationary bike, like put that note in your phone is your initial call is just to ask for their feedback on the house and what they thought. Love it. Love that as an opening. Okay. And then like they say, oh, I wish it had 4 bedrooms, wish it had 3 baths, wish it had 3-car garage. You go 4 bedroom, 3 bath, 3-car garage, and boom. All right. So we got 2 of those. How about we go see those this weekend? Right.
Exactly.
So, love it. I love that. That's a beautiful plan. And I once again, was there a price point that attracted more traffic? I'm always curious if the $1 million+ homes don't necessarily not have as many people through, or do they get more people through because people want decorating ideas and they're never open. They're just a steam to a higher level home.
It's interesting. I would say they do about the same, at least in our market. So we've sat stuff from 300,000-400,000 up to 3 million, and we could have as much as 15, 20 groups through, and we could have as little as no one that shows up. There really isn't anything specific. It's just it's the buyer that's walking in that's what changes. So what we've done is we've just really made sure, especially I run a team of pretty much all young agents. We're all 30 and under currently. Yeah. So we try and work with buyer demographics that tend to want to work with us too, or would tend to trust us more. So we tend to stick to families and investors.
Yeah.
And then we make sure we're in an area where we really know it extremely well. Like where I sit, I've lived in pretty much every neighborhood growing up. Thankfully, thanks to my parents, I didn't know that would come in handy before I got into real estate, but it came in handy. And so I could be talking in the open house to someone and they're telling me what they like or what they need or what they want. And I could literally point at the neighborhoods across the street and whatnot and say, this one has this one doesn't have this one has this, HOA is this over here. So it's knowing it right off the top of your head, like you have to. Otherwise, people don't want to talk to you. They could tell if you know what you're talking about in an open house. So that's one of the most important pieces is knowing who your buyer is and then knowing the house and the area you're sitting in.
Well, you nailed it there. I love that. I have like 7 questions that you just brought up. I mean, literally. And one of the comments is that we have to remember that there's a couple of state of minds of someone who's buying, somebody who's looking for a house. Is the first thing is they are wandering. They have a wandering mind. They're wandering all over town, trying to like figure it out and get focused. And so what do we want to do with the wandering? We want to help give them focus. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty dang focused when you find one house out of the entire Palm Springs area or the entire Kansas City or Atlanta area. That's pretty damn focused when you find one house. So we give them focus. And then they also have this wondering mindset. They're wondering what they're missing out on. They're wondering what's wrong with the home. They're wondering about the neighborhood pool. So how do we counter wondering is with knowledge. We give them knowledge. And you nailed both of those accounts with asking for the feedback and then having that conversation around, oh, well, this neighborhood has that. This neighborhood doesn't. Oh, you're looking for 3-car garages. This whole neighborhood's 2-car garages. So, you can just forget looking there. Let's focus on this area over here. It's going to be 30 to 50,000 more, but this is and all of a sudden you're giving them what they want. They really don't want you. They honestly, right? They really want the knowledge and they really want the focus. Solve the problem of the buyer and you'll get the buyer. And yep. Peyson, when are you moving to my area so we can work on the same team? I'm just like, let's freaking go. Like, I love your hunger and I love your approach to this is so counter to so many things out there that is close, always be closing, right? Do you have an agent? Like, I mean, that's the worst opening question in the history of the world, right? Because they're going to say yes just to push you off.
Correct. We don't ever ask that question. If someone tells us, hey, we have an agent, like we're not going to push them or anything. Well, if they need help, they need help.
You mean you're not going to push the agent off the cliff? Right. No, I'm just kidding. You're not going to push the client. You're not going to push the client to tell you, right?
So, correct. Yeah. We're not going to be like, hey, you got to work with us instead. Yeah. Unless they're like, hey, our agent sucks. We need to fire them.
Yeah.
We'd like to work with you.
Then you encourage that. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, you should. You really should. You're not happy? You should do that. You should get a divorce from that nasty realtor. I love it. All right. More questions, right? So you keep saying we.
Yes. My team.
Yeah. So you're doing these open houses. You're not doing them alone.
When I'm saying it, I do mine individually, and then my team all does theirs own individually. They're doing the exact same thing. Okay. So I've built a team in the last 7 months off of open houses.
Yeah.
And the way we do them. That's how every single person on the team, they all sit open houses on a daily basis. That's just that's our prospecting.
How many of them are there?
There's 14 of us. No, 13 of us. Sorry, 13.
All right, let's get a 14th as soon as we can, just to get off that nasty 13 number. All right. So, love it. And so, but you said we a lot. So are all the agents doing these individually or do you use the team approach?
No, we all do them individually. I just say we because we rehearse this and do this so much and we're so integrated in what we do because we try and make sure we're all in similar areas so that way people see our open house signs all the time. We role play open house conversations, a guest walking in and us talking to them every morning on Zoom. So we're a team. We're always trying to share and try and obviously just make sure everyone's on the same page. So that's what I mean. And we all sit them individually. We don't have open houses typically busy enough to where we could really team up and it be worth it for everyone.
Yeah.
But like we'll be doing open houses and I'll have one in one neighborhood, or maybe we have multiple of us in one neighborhood, and we're throwing people to everyone to make sure everyone's getting into the right open houses.
All right. So I have to ask this for the safety side of things, right? Do you have a code word quick, like what is, with everybody doing them individual, like, is there a safety protocol at all? Like if there's a problem or a creepy person in the house or, that kind of thing, is there a way out of that? I'm just curious.
We just ran into that recently for the first time. And so we're now working on better procedures for it, because we hadn't ran into it for, man, we've been doing this since May, June, and we just ran into it in December for the first time. So we were like, oh yeah, that's a problem. So one thing we do is we like to always put, funny enough, it's really simple. We like to put an extra pair of shoes outside of the front door.
Okay.
So that way when people are walking in, they don't think that it's just the agent inside.
Yeah.
And then we just, it's always just a quick text, and we just have a team group chat, and it's just a quick text saying, hey, like I have someone in here. Like this is weird. Like, please.
Yeah.
So
is that how you took care of it?
Yeah, that's how we took care of it. So, but before we did it, until we had someone that was a little odd come into one of our agents' open houses, and then we're like, okay, we need to make sure this is something that we're keeping an eye out for.
Yeah. Always a good idea. I had to ask, there's been some recent issues around the country. And of course we had the really bad one in Texas, and it's just one of those where, I think it can fairly easily be conquered. The ones I worry about it, and maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should worry about male and female, but it just seems like females sometimes end up the targets of these things. And we actually had an incident in Kansas City at a new home construction site that we had, where we did just have one agent on site, and it was a pretty young female, and nothing bad necessarily happened, but it could have been, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, we need some code words, and we need some quick ways to figure it out. And we had a code word that, if they texted it, then they were in trouble, and we could make it happen, right? Mm-hmm. And then another thing that did you get other affiliates involved in your open houses, like lender? Like this would be a dream, in my opinion, for a lender to hang out at these houses with you as part of their day. Did you get any of that?
We have our lender sit with us, and it's funny. We actually have a few videos on our Instagram where during the summer, it gets like 115 to 120 degrees outside. We were pretty hot. And so we made a funny video where I fell into the pool, and we were going over vacation rental numbers for this house, and I stepped back, fell into the pool. It was mostly because I was really hot. That's where the video,
what a great excuse to get in. Let's get some Insta followers, right? And what's your Insta handle?
It's Peyson, Peyson.Robertson. And Robertson's with a T.
Yeah, Robertson, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Love that, and we'll make sure we check that out. What were your stats after the 100 days? How many people did you end up meeting? How many turned into clients? That kind of thing. Everybody wants to hear about results, right?
Right. So we average about seven leads a week is what we average from it. It's in the 100 days that turned into 15 closings. It had what changed my whole, like, okay, this is where it has to become a regular part of my business, was in month 2, I got up to 10 escrows.
Month two. Yeah. Not we don't always see results that fast, Peyson. I'm just telling you. So
no, and I'll tell you, I haven't got back to the 10 escrows. I'm consistent. I'm consistent around 5 to 8 right now, which is I'm still pleased with. But that was very. But that's what sold me essentially on, okay, we need to make this a regular practice. 10 escrows, we had 15 closed, or I had 15 closed because of the 100 days.
Okay. Very cool.
So it's about 7 leads a week. I think, trying to think how many exact leads we had. I just know it averages to about 7 leads a week is what we get consistently. And that's what turned into the 15 closings.
Well, you had 15 closings in 3.5 months, essentially, right? Mm-hmm. So, and you can't count the first month because that's when you're doing the activity. And I mean, basically in 2.5 months, you did 15 close from one specific strategy, and you just went all in on that strategy. And, I think there's a big lesson out there for a lot of people listening to this is there are things, their goal setting, big goal setting's been, big for the last 4 or 5 months. And it's one of those where, like, a lot of times people set goals, they set it based on transactions or volume or whatever it may be. And it's like, we have to realize that those are lag goals. Those are things we don't actually have any control over. So we, in many cases, we should not be setting results goals as like that lead thing for us. We should really be setting lead goals or activity goals. Like, what's the activity that's going to lead to the, to the results? And an open house, how much control do you have over 15 escrows? None. How much control do you have over doing an open house every day for 100 days? 100% control. You can make that happen every single day. So I love the activity focus of this, and of course you're getting results. And not only did you do 15 close, but you created a system that's replicable and automatic and consistent, and other people can do it to the tune of growing your team by 12 or 13 people. So there's a power to this, and I love you going all in on it, and it makes a ton of. Did you ever get someone who, a seller or somebody that just said, yeah, I don't want my house open?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you. So when I started this, I didn't have any listings at that current time. So I had to call a bunch of different agents until I found an open house that I could sit. And then after that, I actually, within the first month, I picked up people. They saw my open house signs, came in, weren't shopping, but ended up selling their house with me and buying another one. They basically were like, "Hey, we see what you're doing," because they came 2 or 3 times to the open houses now at this point, because I'm doing them every day. They're like, "Hey, we see what you're doing. We'd like you to hold open houses like that and sell our house." Well, they live there full time with an older dog. That lasted about 5 days, and then they're like, "We're over this. You could sit them on the weekends." So people that live there full time, it doesn't work well. It works amazing for vacant homes, and more especially staged, recently renovated homes. That's what works best. You don't want people in there because they're going to feel hassled having to constantly come and leave because you're sitting in an open house.
I mean, I have to tell you, did you ever charge for doing an open house?
No.
You could. If it's a vacant builder's house and you're going to check on the house every day, there's a whole industry for, vacant home management.
Right.
And so think about that. You could make money making money.
Right.
You could make, it's like, I'll set it. I'll hold your house open. We'll sell it and everything else. And, instead of the management fee of, $500 a month, it's only $100 a month for us. Right. And all of a sudden you're checking on that. You're going to be there anyway. So it's a win-win. And then, what's really weird, I'm sure, is the dog that you were staying at probably started obeying you more than the owners. And then it was like, that's a problem. Like we gotta cut this off before our dog is your dog, and that kind of thing. Because you have more time on your hands, and you're playing with the dog and, feeding it and giving it snacks. And all of a sudden it's like walking around following you. That's how I got my first dog, by the way, is from a seller. It's a long story, but it was interesting. So what was your volume? The 15 close for what volume? Because you're in more of an upper bracket type of place, right?
The 15 close turned into just over 7 million in volume.
Yeah.
From 15.
Yeah. So about 500,000 average. Yep. Yeah. Okay. All right. So tell me your process. Like, how did it, you talked about signs earlier. Do you have a checklist for this? Do you have, so tell me a little bit how that goes chronologically for the, for the high D's and C's in the audience, if you will.
Absolutely. So it all starts with setting up the open houses. We like to set the whole next week up on the Saturday. So
Yeah.
we give it at least 48 hours for that Monday, essentially. So we set up all of our open houses for the week, ideally the same house. We don't like to try and do different houses. Like we don't want to constantly switch it up. That sounds like a huge pain, too much logistics. So set up the house every Saturday so that way it's ready to go by Monday. From there, we're starting our social media posts for the open houses. We like to talk about what's coming up, what we're sitting, and we continually talk about it each day. We then do we've done ads, but we're not doing ads anymore. We tried them; they do okay, but we just it's not really our thing. So what we do now is we like to cold call the whole community before, and we invite them to the open house.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for the purpose of getting them in the open house. It's to get on the phone and have a conversation with them about what they like about the community, what they hate about the community, see if they have any friends, looking to, or see if they're looking to do anything. And then from there, it's setting up signs for the open house on the day of. We like to use 6 to 10 A-frames is what we shoot for. We're mostly rock and sand, so we can't really stick stakes in. So we're A-frames, 6 to 10 big ones. We do 3 feet by 2 feet wide A-frames, and then that making sure we get there early enough, obviously, just to turn on the lights, the regular stuff that you do for a normal open house. So not anything too crazy. We have some more in-depth stuff on our checklist, but that's what I follow every single time. It's how I do it every single week.
Yeah. And your cold call is almost a warm call because, you're inviting them to the open house. And instead of like, do you know anybody that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? You're asking that, like you're doing research and you're implementing two of the most powerful strategies you can get when it comes to phone calls, and that is research and feedback. So you're doing research. Instead of calling them to talk about how great you are, you're calling them to help sell the home, or at least, that's the initial conversation is, what do you like about the neighborhood? What do you hate about the neighborhood? Which, just so you know, like everybody's talking about Chat GPT for listing descriptions. So what you do is you put the information on the home and you ask Chat GPT to give you the description, and they all sound the same and they look horrible, right? And it's like the best listing description you can ever do is from the seller. That's the best one. And you just ask the seller, what are the 3 or 4 top reasons you bought this house? And they write it out. Like, well, it was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-story. It was a 2-story. The neighborhood has a neighborhood pool. The neighborhood is in a good school district. And, I like that the home was on a cul-de-sac, right? So there's your listing description. Per seller, the reason they bought this home was these what research shows is that the reason that the next person will buy that home are the same exact reason the original buyer bought the home. And so why not market to the people that are going to be buying it and let them know exactly, but you could take it a step farther with your feedback calls or your research calls, is your research in the neighborhood. You could literally say, per calls to the neighborhood, here's what we've discovered about the neighborhood, right? And it's like these 4 likes. Did you know that it has a, open area behind the pool and clubhouse? A lot of people don't know it's there, anyway. So I love the research and feedback approach because it warms up the call.
Yes. Yes. It doesn't feel like a sales call. It doesn't feel like a cold call.
Yeah. You're not calling a neighborhood you don't have an interest in. You have a vested interest in the neighborhood. Love that. Okay. So so when you were doing the circle prospecting or calling the community to invite them to the open house, what did you find? Did you find a lot of resistance? Did you find a normal amount of resistance, or did you find almost no resistance?
Almost no resistance. I mean, we had a couple people be like, "Hey, how'd you find my number?" But we're like, "Hey, we're real estate agents. We work with local title companies, and we're calling people to invite for our open houses." And then they're fine from there. But most people want to have a conversation, especially when you're not calling them saying, "Hey, do you want to sell your house?"
Yeah.
So very, very little resistance. That one of the best ways we've gotten through to people with cold calls.
Yeah, it's like, where'd you get my number? Well, here's the thing. Let me tell you about getting your number. Is I'm a real estate agent. I love this neighborhood. I have a home in this neighborhood, and I want to do research on this neighborhood, and I don't like to leave anything incomplete. So my first thing was to get everybody's number in the neighborhood, including yours. And guess what? You're one of the ones that I called, and that's my job, is to do my job for my seller at its best. And you know what? 5 or 6 of the numbers were kind of hard to get, but we ended up getting them, right? And it's just like, just make it into a strength that we got your number. Just like you said, we work with title companies, and guess what? We wanted to have your number, so we got your number. Wouldn't you want an agent who was into completeness and getting their job done and doing it to the 100%? Yes, I would. Right. Love it. Love it. And I also love what you said about the ads, that you're not doing that anymore. That just wasn't paying off for you. It was just added a lot more work than maybe the payoff was. And, might be something you consider down in the future, but right now it's not necessarily necessary. Right.
Yep. It's not necessary at all.
What social media do you use to promote it?
Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
So what we love to do, this has been a huge part for us, is posting on our stories. Once we get to the open house, we flip the camera on ourselves, and I hated this at first, but flip the camera on ourselves and we talk about the house, and we're actually just talking like we'd be talking to someone. Like, that's all. It's not the camera's flipped and you're showing the house. Like, people want to see you when you're on social media. They don't want to see the house typically. Right. They're most likely not even interested in the house. And because of the constant posting of, hey, we're doing open houses every day, everyone on our socials now thinks we are the busiest people on the entire planet. Mm-hmm. And so whenever they're thinking about real estate, or friends or families thinking about real estate, we're getting a lot of referrals now because of our consistent open houses.
You're doing business every day. And mm-hmm. and not only that, but you're doing it out of a offsite office. You basically have taken a non-retail approach, right? You don't have a office, but you've actually taken it and it's like, no, we have an office in every home in the area, essentially, right? And we're going to advertise and do groundbreakings and, ribbon cuttings at every one of these houses, essentially. So I love that. I love the approach. And so what difficulties did you have? What challenges did you have, especially early on with doing the open house a day for 100 days?
Initially getting agents to let us. We had to call a lot more agents initially than what we do now. Now we have like 30 agents. We have our own listings, and then we have like 30 agents that will just be like, hey, can you sit open houses for us? Nice. So it's made it a lot easier, but initially it's just, you have to call, same as cold calling for clients. You have to call enough people to get someone to say yes. So that was the initial. At first we didn't have enough open house signs, so had to buy more open house signs. And then figuring out what are good, sturdy, durable open house signs for doing that many, because they get beat up pretty quick.
Especially if you're using them every day. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We're constantly buying new signs. Not the frames, but the sign itself. We're constantly buying new signs. And then figuring out good neighborhoods, because we have a lot of gated communities specifically, and some gated communities don't get good traffic. Mm-hmm. They're in awkward spots or whatnot. So we know, okay, this is a good community. This isn't a good community. This is worth our time. This is not worth our time. And that just took us sitting at places repeatedly to figure that out until we're like, okay, yeah, we're crossing this one off the list.
All right. I'm going to ask you a question on that, right? Because you're going to save all of our listeners a lot of time. All right. What did you discover from setting at a bunch of different open houses that made something a better community? Like, what are the factors of a good community to hold an open house? Because here's the number one people think is, all right, I'm going to do an open. And then they're like, what house should I hold open? And if we can set them up for success from the very beginning, then let's eliminate the bad neighborhood. Maybe it's what did you, like you said, gated in an outskirts area off the beaten path. Maybe it's on 3 roads away from a main road, right?
Right.
That would not be a good one. So what are maybe some good ones?
So yeah, gated community usually makes it a whole lot harder for us. Like we know we just don't get as much traffic through off the beaten path, like you said. And then even once we get in the community, if there's a bunch of turns and whatnot, that is a whole nother thing, because we like people to be pointed by our signs, and we're only using 6 to 10 signs. So because that's sadly all we could fit in our cars because of how dang big they are. We almost need a van to carry around signs for us. So making sure that it's easy to get there even once you get to the neighborhood. And I mean that's really the other crucial piece is making sure it's a vacant or recently flipped or renovated home, ideally staged. So that's the other piece. Like if you're homeowners are going to get tired really quick, like mentioned earlier, if you're sitting something and they live there every day. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that has stood out to us. No, it's mostly just like make sure if you are in a gated community, it needs to be an easy gate code. If it's like a guard gate is honestly ideal because they're not going to get messed up with the code.
Yeah.
The one thing in the beginning, like people would be like, I can't get in. They'd call the sign. And then you're like, the code's, 1302. No, that's not working.
Yeah.
I don't use the code. I know it's working.
Yeah.
We try and that's the other thing. Try and ideally stay away from them. We have most of our communities are gated though. So we have to sometimes work with it. And in that scenario, we throw our phone number up on a flyer on the box and we say, hey, call us for the code, because obviously homeowners don't like the gate code being given out to the public.
Yeah. And having your invitation on the code box isn't a bad thing either, because everybody that pulls through there's got to know it or got to see it. Right. So, okay. And so I put, avoid gated, minimize the amount of turns once they're in the neighborhood. If it's vacant or a renovated home is best, and then staged is always best, and staged is always best for any listing. And then if it has a guard gate, then maybe you kind of ease off on the non-gated thing. So does that kind of summarize it pretty good?
Yeah, it pretty much exactly.
Schools don't matter necessarily.
So we try and sit some next to schools if we can, but it's not always an option. So like if there is schools, we will do them. Like that's where we do like our 3 to 5s. We'll catch people from that after school traffic. We have signs pointing. That'll help pick up traffic from what we've seen.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. And so like words of wisdom, like overall, what were maybe 2 or 3 things that you learned about this? I mean, one, you're going in 110%. So obviously you are sold on open houses at a lead generation method.
Yeah, I'm at 191 to date is what I 191.
Since you started last June.
Yep.
Yeah. And how many of your teammates done?
Probably right around the exact same thing.
Yeah. So
I had 2 that started with me. So I started my team pretty much right before I started doing this, and 2 have been doing them with me day in and day out. And everyone that got the board, they do the exact same thing.
So the Obsidian Group wasn't 100 in 100 days. It was 300 in 300 days, or 300 in 100 days.
Right. Yeah. If you include them. Yeah. Correct. That's where we've gotten our branding and our name has gotten out there really quickly, especially now with 13 of us, because people see our signs everywhere. Now it's hilarious when we call people, we could cold call people and they're like, oh, you guys are the ones with those open house signs. Mm-hmm. So it's paid off. I would say consistency is the most important thing. Like there's no magic day. There's not even any magic house. It's, can you get one extra conversation a day at least? Like that's a potential buyer, that's a potential seller. And then sitting the same house is honestly ideal. Some people may not think so, but you start to get neighbors that walk in and they're ready. They may be thinking about selling. I had 2 listings I just signed over the weekend that were people that came in to the neighborhoods. And I did have to follow up with them from August and it was August and it was June and August. So I had 2 listings that I signed. People came in June and August, followed up with them. They just signed listings with me. I have another one that I've done that with, and it's just because we sit at the same house. And because obviously when you have an open house open the first 2 days or like on a weekend, neighbors, you always get at least 1 or 2 nosy neighbors, but you don't get the neighborhood. Right. With as much as we're sitting, we pretty much get the neighborhood. So we get to start to know everyone. Like it's hilarious because I can start to like talk when people come in like, oh yeah, I know Susie next door, and I know John lives here part-time. And they're like, how do you know all this? Well, we sit here every day.
Yeah, they walk their dogs right by us every day. We talk to them, and yeah.
Right. We have people now, like when we're driving through the neighborhood, they know us in our cars and they're waving at us hi, and we'll stop and talk. Like it's just the consistency of sitting in the same spot until it's no longer fruitful is what we do. So like we'll go until like, okay, we've now beat this place up for the past month.
Yeah.
We're not getting people in anymore, really. Like we need to change to another spot. But as long as we can, we sit the same place because we want people. It's brand recognition.
Yeah.
Sellers are going to know, wow, that agent's, sat at that house for 30 days straight.
Yeah.
I want someone like that willing to work that hard for my house when I.
Can you imagine competing with another agent and you go, I will hold your house open until it sells. And the other one, they ask the other agent, hey, are you going to hold this open? And they're like, yeah, open houses don't work. Right. Or whatever. And it's like, no, the other person's going to hold it open every day until it sells. And the agent's like, I can't compete with that. I'm not going to commit to that. And the beautiful thing is not only do you have an army of 12 others, that are willing to, open that house, and they know the system, and the signs are going to be, the same and that kind of thing. So I think it's genius, and I love the consistency of it. And it's one of the most profitable pillars in real estate lead generation anyway. So how are you going to improve? Like, what are some tweaks that you'd like to make in the next few months to make this system even better?
So one thing we just started working on is we're making sure every house we take and we're not doing any professional stuff. It's just we take a really cool video of the house because it's just another piece of content that we could use. It's another way people could see us. And we throw that up on Reels, on Instagram Reels, because Reels pushes stuff out for you for free. You don't have to pay for them to push it out. So that's one thing we just added in that we're consistent with now. The other thing is we're going to start doubling up on days, sitting 2 a day. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to do as many as humanly possible. Now that we have the system down, it doesn't take much time for us to set up and take down and everything. So we're either sitting 2 a day or we're sitting longer ones. The only thing we found is we like to ideally sit in 2-hour increments because what we found is pretty much everyone comes within a 2-hour increment. Yeah. So you might as well just give them that 2 hours and then they make the time for it.
As long as they know the 2 hours, right?
Right. Yeah. And if you set it up correctly on the previous Saturday, it has ample amount of time on the MLS and Zillow and Realtor.com and Redfin and everything else for people to see it to make sure they could get there.
Love it. I another thing that, an idea that you gave me from talking about this is, people talk all the time about how to dominate a farm area and a geographic farm. And there would be no better way. We talk about postcards and they talk about events and they talk about all these different things. Well, an open house is an event that you can invite the whole neighborhood to. And then you have it every day. You have it every day until the house sells. And you're going to be well known in that farm very, very quickly. And your signs are up every single day, and they can be up because you are having an open house. What do most agents do? They spend Saturday putting out 30 to 40 signs for their Sunday open house. And then what do they do the Sunday afternoon? They take down all the signs that they put up. And there's actually a whole sign putting and sign picking up service, in some cities.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah. And you don't have to do it because you're there every day. You don't have to pick up the signs.
We have to do it in the HOAs. The HOAs, yeah. But the non-HOAs, yeah, we don't have to do it in the non-HOAs. But HOAs sadly still make us.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, you have the open 11 to 1 and then you go pick them up anyway?
Yeah, a lot of time because of the HOA.
Have you thought about doubling down on the signs, putting out 12 instead of 6?
6 is the max I could fit in my car. So what we do is we do 6 A-frames.
It's the car capacity that is limiting us. It's so funny. Next time I'm going to talk to you, you're going to go, yeah, I got this 15-passenger van. We're putting out 30 to 40 signs every time now. And I am the coolest van driver in the history of van drivers. So
we have 6 A-frames. Then we always we carry stake signs. We carry about 10 stake signs with us. Yeah. So if we can, push those into the ground, we're doing it. If we can't, though, sometimes we can't. So, but we always have them because you could fit those a whole lot easier.
Yeah. Is there anything special on your signs? I'm guessing a pointer and it says open house.
It's just an open house and an arrow, and then make sure the number is pretty big because a lot of people will drive by and be like, hey, I can't check it out, but what is it?
And then do you have an agent on duty sign at the house or anything else other besides the open house sign?
No, so that is one thing we're working on trying to improve currently because a lot of times we get people that will drive past like continually, and we're like, why are you driving past and not coming inside?
I'm not sure if you're there.
Yeah, I think we're thinking people aren't thinking we're there. So that's what we're working on. Agent inside or like come on in, like we're here, something along those lines. So that way people know like, hey, we could come and stop. Because what we've even found is some people come in and they're like, can we come in? It's like, yeah, this is it's open house. So that's the other thing that we're needing to improve on.
Do you have any food or drink? No. Okay.
We tried to do that. It too much with consistently doing it. We're trying to make the setup and takedown as easy as possible because of how many we're doing. Like we're now on showings and appointments all the time because of these open houses. So we're usually kind of rushing from one thing to the next. So simplicity is the most important thing. We have a sign-in sheet and our flyers and business cards, and we don't make people sign in. It's just there in case people want to write their phone number down. The whole thing is we want to find a way to give value to where we could send them a text. That's what we're trying to do in the open house. It's find a way to give value to them based on what they're wanting and needing, so that way we could send them a text. So hopefully we don't have to give them any flyer is the goal.
Yeah. So take me through that. Right. So I'm at the open house. I'm a visitor. I'm walking through, and it's, that awkward first, 30 seconds when they walk in and they're really worried. They're somebody's going to hit them over the head with a sales pitch. Right. So, so talk me through that. How do you get a text? How would be 1 or 2 or 3 scripts that would get my text message or get my phone number to get a text message out?
So we always like to start with like how they found us. So a lot of people find us from the open house sign. So we'll say, hey, did you find us from the open house signs or did you find us from Zillow? Oh, we found you from the open house signs. Cool. And are you looking at this as, a house to live in, or are you looking at this as a vacation rental? And then they tell us that. And then we're like, especially if it's the open house signs, we'll be like, okay, are you looking for 3-4 bedrooms? And we'll start to go into what the house is. We'll be like, hey, this is a 3-bedroom house. Yeah. Are you ideally looking for a 3-bedroom house? Oh, no, actually, we're looking for 4 bedrooms. Well, we have lists of houses similar price points in the neighborhoods where we have a list of homes that are, we pretty much figure out everything that they're looking for. We have a list of homes that's 4 bedrooms, 3 baths between 2,000 and 2,500 square feet. I could send that over to you right now if you'd like.
There you go.
That's one. Or, hey, because we sit so many open houses, hey, we have other off-market homes in here. If this one doesn't work for you, but you like this community, if you'd like, I'd be more than happy to send those to you so that way you could take a look. Or it's, hey, we will get to the point where if they're serious about buying and they're talking about wanting to buy, hey, I'm assuming you're buying cash. And a lot of times they'll be like, no, we're not buying cash, but that's how I like to ask it. Cause then they don't feel like I'm thinking they're broke or something.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we'd have to get a loan. And I'm like, well, I have the most incredible lender that I trust with all my clients, myself. Like I just had my parents buy with him. Like this guy's amazing. You're going to love him. Like you have to talk with him, even if you don't want to work with him. Like it's no obligation. Just talk with him. If you'd like, we could set up a group text. So that way you guys could set up a time that works best for you on Zoom. That's the other way.
I love it. So service, right? Service or availability of houses, essentially.
Yeah. Or sometimes it's like it's a neighbor and they're like, hey, we're looking at, I just had one yesterday. Someone came in, they're like, yeah, we're looking at putting an ADU in our backyard for our mother-in-law. And I'm like, oh, do you have a contractor? No, we don't have a contractor. I'll text you.
I'll do a 3-way text.
Yeah. What's your phone number? Yeah. So it's always it's trying to find some type of value. You need to give some type of value for people to want to hand out their information.
Yeah. I was asking if there was ever like a report or, information that they would be looking for that you could text them. Right. But you've gone to something a lot easier, which is, the houses, the neighborhood info, or the or a lender or contact, right?
The other one that we do, because we have a lot of vacation rentals as a festivals and whatnot, I have vacation rental numbers on standby for what houses do, so I could send them that report. That's
Love it. Love it. All right. So somebody's out there setting, they're an agent. They don't do open houses, or their team doesn't do open houses. What word of advice would you have for someone that's sitting there and hasn't done an open house yet?
Get out there and do it.
Just do it.
You need to just do it. I would say even I think open houses, especially for newer agents or people that aren't wanting to spend money on lead generation because it's so expensive, spend a few $100 on open houses and sit them every day. It's going to be the best return. Like there's just no way it's not going to be the best return. I spent, I think on total for my entire team, about $6,000 to $8,000 in signs now, because we have so dang many, but that's turned into over 350,000 plus in GCI by open houses. So like what better return can you get than to buy some open house signs? We bought our frames on Amazon, and then we buy the signs on signsonthecheap.com, and we go out there and we just do it consistently. So the only other piece I would add in is find a partner to role play the open house conversations with. That is huge. In the beginning, I was converting leads, but the two agents on my team were brand new agents, and they weren't converting as near as much as I was. And we're like, okay, what's the problem? Well, we start to role play. I'm like, oh, that's the problem. We're different conversations. So we role play we'll have one of our agents will come back to the role play the next day. Hey, I had this issue. I couldn't get the phone number because they said this. I got stuck. So then we'll have one of our agents be the agent and role play that, so that we could see how to break that down and get the phone number. So that way we're constantly solving for whatever objections or weird questions that come up when people are talking to us.
Yeah. Love it. So practice, right? So practice. Go practice having open houses, and then practice what to say at the open houses, and you'll have better open houses. And if you're in a position to trade time for money, right, then open houses are a really, really good strategy, because they're very, very low cost, and the income can be very good. You're just trading your time for the money, which, a lot of agents, when they're newer, that's what they have. They have more time than money. So how do you make money? You spend your time making money, period. And then you have enough money, you don't have to spend time making money, right? Your money's going to make money.
Exactly. When I got into this for so long, I tried to look for, the magic answer. Like, how are people doing so many transactions? They're getting out there and they're hustling. That's what it is. So spend the time, and there's nothing that's fancy. Like you could do this if you cold called every day for 3 hours a day and you were consistent with the follow-up, you'll do transactions off of that. If you do social media every day, you could do transactions off of that. It's just about the consistency piece of it that I've learned. And that's where we just now, we started with open houses, and now we're consistent on social media, and we're consistent with our cold calls, and we're adding just one layer brick by brick as we build those habits slowly. So that's really all it comes down to, is making sure you do it every single day.
Yep. Well, the one thing I really love about the open house, though, different than maybe a cold calling or door knocking approach, is that it's an invitation. Like they're at choice. They're at choice whether they go to the open house or not. So when somebody walks through the door, they're interested in something. They're it's like when a buyer walks on the lot of a car lot. They're looking to buy a car. So it's like it's more attractive than maybe some of these other chase-based strategies, And the other thing is it's an event. So not only can you invite the neighborhood, you can invite neighboring neighborhoods, you can invite your database, you can invite everybody on social media. You can literally invite everyone in the world to every open house. And it's not intrusive. It doesn't feel weird. It's just like, oh, that was nice of them to invite me. And, I'm not looking in Palm Springs anytime soon, but it's nice to be invited. And it's very attractive. And it's event based, which what is an open house? It's an event where you're setting up shop in a pseudo retail office, essentially making it an office outside the office. So this is awesome. This was fantastic. I took 2.5
That's awesome.
Pages of notes, and just brilliant stuff. Peyson, this is awesome. And how do they reach out to you if they want to refer to your area or they want to find out more about you?
Instagram is Peyson, Peyson.Robertson. I'm on Facebook. You could reach out to me by phone. My phone number is 760-702-4667. So that more than happy to help in any way I can. What we're so focused on right now is we're looking for other young, hungry agents like ourselves, that want to get out there, and we want to make money. We want to be a part of this industry, and that's what we're working on, and that's what we're doing each and every day. So doing it in the systems and the ways we know how within the budgets that we have. So this year's changed a lot for me, thankfully, and it's changing a lot for my team as well. I'm no longer where I need to be like, oh, I have to sit in open house, but I want more transactions. We're trying to break. I think I increased my business 400% last year is what I increased my business. I'd like to do more than that this year. So that's what we're just looking to do. But yeah, Instagram, that's the best way. I'm always on Instagram.
Love it. Awesome. Well, I have to say, what a great interview. I really appreciate this conversation, and always great. And we're going to have you come back and give us an update mid-year and tell us how you're doing with the open houses and the strategy and everything that you're building. And I just want to say thank you so much for being a guest on Referrals Podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm shooting. Once I get to 365, maybe that's when we could do it.
I'm in. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, how about that for a while? The acronym for open houses is OH, and today is definitely put the O in open houses. I said, oh, wow. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's nice. Like literally time after time after time. And, maybe open houses isn't your thing, but maybe you add an element from what you got from here to your open house, criteria or schedule. And then some of you dive in, do something each and every day. Make sure you do this and I hope what you got from this is he's not doing a mega open house every day where he's putting out 100 signs and he's marketing this to 1 million people. No, it's a pretty niche, pretty strategic. It's like hit a small group each and every day, very manageable. That's what these open houses are. They're very manageable. And, you got to love his consistency. You got to love, the consistency and frequency of what he's doing, which leads to that brand recognition, which leads to visitors, to new clients, and so on and so forth. And I just enjoyed the living heck out of this conversation, and I hope you did too. And for those of you listening, do us a favor. If you liked what you heard today, do us a favor, rate it, review it, share it, let other people know about what we're doing here at Referrals Podcast, and just know how much I appreciate you, the listener, the viewer. And I love you. I appreciate you. And we'll see you next time on Referrals Podcast.